Hi and welcome to CBN4's Primetime News Package for today. I'm your presenter, Alan Christopher. Here's a look at what's up in today's headlines. Dominica expected to feel full impacts of Hurricane Maria in 2018. The Secretary General of the Caribbean Community calls on CARICOM to counteract the threat of crime and violence. And in sports, Windies under-19 batsman describes the World Cup experience as a life-changing one. Stay tuned for these and other stories right after this break.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You'll expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs. When persons with TB sneeze or cough, healthy persons nearby breathe in the droplets and the bacteria can lodge in their lungs. People with weakened immune systems such as HIV/AIDS, alcohol and drug users, smokers, children, and the elderly are most susceptible. Persons with a cough should take precautions when in contact with persons in public places. Cover your mouth when sneezing and coughing. Visit your doctor or health center.
Welcome back. And first up in today's news, the police have confirmed that investigations are underway after a man reportedly died at sea in Mero. The man has been identified as 50-year-old Joseph Paul of Montrachet. Police PRO Inspector Pelham John Baptist said at about 4:15 p.m. on the 24th of February, Joseph Paul went spearfishing at Mero. He said Paul was heard shouting for help, having found himself in distress. A resident of Mero responded and noticed the lifeless body of Joseph Paul on the seabed. Paul was fished out of the sea and was officially pronounced dead by a medical doctor. A coroner's inquest will be convened. And the Consumer Protection Association of Dominica, under the leadership of Cleville Mills, has assured the general public that the association is here to educate on the rights and responsibilities of the consumer. During an interview with CBN4, Mills said that there is always a need for consumer protection and there has always been an issue with prices. He said there hasn't been much consumer protection in Dominica apart from persons hearing about high prices. Mills further mentioned that only 2 items in Dominica, liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, and cement, are the most talked about under consumer protection. However, the president of the Dominica Consumer Protection Association said that consumer protection is about everything the consumer consumes.
The association already is here to educate members of the public about the rights and responsibilities. You know, there are certain things that consumers are entitled to and they need to know that. For instance, if you go to a supermarket or you go to a store, anything you purchase, you have a right to receive a receipt to show that you have proof of purchase. And you also have a right to a refund if you are not satisfied with the product that you get. So these are some of the rights that the consumer has, and sometimes they not be aware of it. So we in the Consumer Protection Association have a responsibility to go about there and educate the consumers.
Since the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017, Mills noted the Consumer Protection Association were heavily engaged in response to a constant cry on the issue of price gouging.
Selling a beer, for instance, almost $7, and the price of everything went up. So there was a big cry, there was a hue and cry about the prices. We still have that problem, and we have a lot of work to do, and that is why we are there to really try to educate the consumer.
One of the things the Consumer Protection Association worked on with the Consumer Affairs Department was to have a markup price set on a list of items. Mills said this would benefit the consumers.
That was something that the Ministry of Trade would be able to monitor, and consumers themselves would have an avenue where if you go to a store and you find the price is high, based on the fact that there is a basket that is controlled, you could report the matter to either the Consumer Protection Association or you could report it to the Ministry of Trade. And the Ministry of Trade would be in a position to take some action.
Mills said the association has had several showings on the different radio stations and other media platforms speaking about the Consumer Protection Association. And Seedlings Plus, located in Mahu, says that its business has been given a boost through the government's Small Grant Assistance Program. According to the Seedlings Plus, the farmers have started making their purchases of seedlings more regularly since many of them have already harvested their short-term crops and need to replant. The manager claims that the farmers from all over the island have resorted to purchasing at her plant since one of the bigger supplies of seedlings for the agricultural center was severely affected.
What we have tomatoes, we have sweet peppers, we have lettuce, chive, Chinese cabbage, both red and the ordinary cabbage. We got eggplant, seasoning pepper. We have a variety of whatever you would like to get.
What about citrus?
No, we don't do citrus. Before the hurricane, we would have like sweet sop, we would have cherry, we would have pawpaw. Mostly, these. We would do these. And then what happened is that right now you can see that we are bit halfway empty because the people, they won't tell the other, and we have a card, we usually give out our cards. But as people get to know, because from here to go south, we are the only one where they can come to, so people keep.
Francis revealed that while those in the agricultural sector are trying to revive their farms, it is challenging. Francis says that in her case, the inadequacy of important farming tools has slowed down the process by which they can make seedlings available to farmers. However, she noted that the government's aid contributed significantly to their reopening.
After the hurricane, and we do hot peppers for Dexia. So we have a contract with Dexia to do hot peppers. So then now, after the hurricane, it was severely damaged. We were out of it altogether, but then now we got assistance with some materials like our plastic, and we got some like seed, a little seed. We got a box of trays, so we got a little assistance from them. And the monetary, we got a little. Well, what we get, I consider that they look at us as a small farmer, because what they would give us small farmer, that's what they gave us. So, but we still appreciate the assistance because it helped us to move a little faster, because some people surprised to see how fast we were already up, so that helped us in a way.
Francis stated that while things are slowly picking up, she is most thankful that they have managed to open and continue supplying the farmers with seedlings. Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence has announced that the Miss Teen Dominica will take place in April of 2018. The Miss Teen pageant and the Miss Dominica pageant should have taken place during the carnival season, but however, due to the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria, both of these pageants were postponed. The Chief Cultural Officer noted that only the Miss Teen pageant is scheduled to be held.
The 14th of April this year, and will be held at the Old Mill Cultural Center. We're still in the process of recruiting schools. We have 4 confirmed schools so far, and we're still hoping to get at least a couple more. But the show is definitely on the 14th of April. It will form part of Domfesta, which is organized by the Cultural Division. So we are looking forward to another exciting teen pageant. It will be the 41st annual teen pageant.
Were you able to...
Lawrence admits that the association has had difficulty sourcing adequate sponsorship to host the event and therefore agreed on a date that awards the association more time to make preparations.
Probably allowed us a little more time, one, to source sponsorship, because I think that was the main reason why none of the pageants took place during Carnival this year, simply because people were just recovering, you know, in the real process of recovering. Maybe another challenge could have been for some shows that they didn't have enough time to recruit contestants for the shows. But of course everybody was in the aftermath, everybody recovering from the whole disaster. But for us, our show in particular, because our show, the contestants come from the secondary schools. So it's really a school's event. And we consulted with the principals, we consulted with the teachers as to what other date, apart from Carnival, would be a good date. And they all thought about Easter time would be a good time for them.
He further notes that Dominicans must be thankful that we got the chance to celebrate this year's 2018 Carnival season after the effects of Hurricane Maria. Lawrence admits that having the show in April allows the association allotted time to seek more sponsorship. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more news right after this break.
When persons with TB sneeze or cough, healthy persons nearby breathe in the droplets and the bacteria can lodge in their lungs. People with weakened immune systems such as HIV/AIDS, alcohol and drug users, smokers, children, and the elderly are most susceptible. Persons with a cough should take precautions when in contact with persons in public places. Cover your mouth when sneezing and coughing. Visit your doctor or health center. You must complete your treatment. TB can be cured even with HIV. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB and HIV. Protect yourself and others.
There are signs everywhere. Pay attention whether you're male or female. Visit your health center to get screened. It's a preliminary test to determine if you are exposed to the HIV virus, an STI, or tuberculosis. Some people who are HIV positive also have tuberculosis. But there's hope. Tuberculosis can be cured. And yes, you can live a full life with HIV. Talk to your doctor. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB, HIV. Encourage everyone to get tested.
And welcome back. Financial Secretary Rosamond Edwards has stated that prior to Hurricane Maria, Dominica was well on course to achieve economic growth in excess of 3% of gross domestic product. However, she notes that our current estimate is for a decline of 3%, which means we've basically lost 6%. Edwards further mentioned that it is estimated that the full impact of Hurricane Maria will be felt in 2018, while it is expected that the economy suffer a further decline as much as 16%.
These figures will be further refined as we undertake specific surveys, the national account surveys, to ensure that we capture fully and correctly the performance of each sector.
As rehabilitation projects begin to take root, economic recovery is expected to be seen from 2019, with growth being registered from that year and over the medium term.
Fiscal prudence is a great imperative in these times. On the one hand, government must spend to ensure the economic activity continues, but over time we'll have to determine how to reduce expenditure where it is necessary. Government will be required to borrow to finance rehabilitation, And bearing in mind that in the last few years we have made significant progress in reducing debt levels, we expect that having to borrow to finance rehabilitation, the likelihood is that the debt to GDP ratio will rise. However, that can be contained if, as we enter into new debt and contract new debt, the projects which we implement contribute to growth so that there is a greater balance, and so in effect will not be significantly.
The Financial Secretary said that this relies on the efficiency with which project funds and loan funds are utilized and the efficiency in which projects are implemented. Dominica's water company, the WASCO, has announced that it has recorded severe loss as a result of Hurricane Maria. The general manager of the WASCO, Bernard Etinoff, said that all 42 of the WASCO's water systems were adversely impacted by the hurricane, with damages varying.
Summarized as follows: we had damage in water sector, widespread in most of the areas, damage occurring to transmission and abstraction infrastructure, abstraction facilities located in rivers and as such very vulnerable to the impacts of flash flooding, the changing course of many rivers, diverting them away from the intake structures, and several miles of pipelines exposed and undermined in several areas.
In addition to the water sector, there were significant damages also to the sewage infrastructure. Etinoff said the damages near the Dominica-China Friendship Bridge, damages on the Bath State Bridge, and the recently installed EMSOL suspended river crossing, which took sewage from the apartment buildings across the river to the sewage system.
Extensive damage to the sewage manholes in Roseau, and siltation of sewer manholes and lines throughout the city of Roseau. Siltation of the wet well at Betong Sewage Treatment Plant, and extensive damage to the electrical control panels for the wet wells at the Betong Treatment Facility. Ladies and gentlemen, damage to the sewage infrastructure has been extensive, and in spite of the WASCO spending in excess of $1 million to restore the sewage system in Roseau following Tropical Storm Maria, that cost is expected to be even greater following Hurricane Maria.
Prior to Hurricane Maria, the WASCO supplied 98.5% of water to the population of Dominica, which represents over 22,000 water service connections. And also in the news, Afoten Martin has asked both Domlec and the WASCO to focus their attention on strengthening the water systems by engaging in rehabilitation works of the forest. According to Martin, both of these companies rely on a valuable resource of water. Martin admits that the building back better aspect is essential. However, he believes that a significant investment must go towards the restoration of catchment if we are to speak of resilience in our water and electric system.
Catchments is critical to both Domlec and the WASCO. And we have here an interesting opportunity to engage both companies in a nationwide project for reforesting and for, in fact, selective reforesting, starting with the identified catchments that are critical both to Domlec and the WASCO. This has two other benefits that can be gained. Number one, it can involve the private sector. The private sector in agriculture that has, if you will, idle greenhouse space that can be engaged immediately to propagate the hundreds of thousands of tree seedlings that are going to be required as we seek to reforest, so that immediately a cross-sector collaboration develops, jobs are created, and then in another sector, in civil society, there are hundreds, probably thousands of young people all over the island who could become involved and engaged with the help of international agencies in being the ones who actually go out into the forests under the guidance of forestry officers to clear, to plant, and to care for those seedlings, those hundreds of thousands of tree seedlings that are going to be necessary to restore our water capacity. Interestingly, there's a third benefit and hence collaborative opportunity, and it has to do with flood control. In the absence of healthy water catchments, those rivers will continue to flood. So 3 major sectors, flood control, disasters, DOMLEC and DOWASCO, with the benefit of the involvement of the private sector and civil society, we can all come together.
Afatan Mate also mentioned the third benefit from engaging in such works, that of flood prevention and control.
Major national project focused on reforesting, and we can select the trees, the species that we want to put in there, and gives us an opportunity to build into that exercise the long-term resilience for DOWASCO, for DOMLEC, for the propagators, as well as for the young people who, going to Dr. Peter's point, can use that as a job training, a career identification opportunity in plant propagation, taxonomy, botany, biology, and could be even the next wave of tour guides for the tourism industry.
He believes that resilience is achievable if both companies, accompanied by the government, sees the need to protect this resource through reforestation. And stay tuned, we'll be back with more after this break.